Administrative Decisions for the Advanced Legal Research course at Boston College Law School. There are basically three types of agency decisions: formal adjudications, informal adjudications, and advisory opinions. Formal adjudications usually arise out of a dispute involving the interpretation or violation of enabling statutes or regulations. They are very much like cases in that they involve a trial-like hearing with witness testimony, a written record, and a final written decision prepared by an administrative law judge or an agency commissioner. ALJ decisions can usually be appealed to a higher entity within the agency through an administrative review process. Parties to an administrative proceeding must exhaust administrative remedies before filing for relief in federal court. This is both to conserve court resources and also to defer to the agency expertise. Typically, administrative decisions are only binding on the parties. They can have some persuasive authority, so they have some value to attorneys who practice before an agency. Some agencies, like the U.S. Patent and Trademark Office, designate some decisions as precedential. These establish binding authority concerning major policy or procedural issues. Agency decisions can be reported in official publications from federal agencies, like these decisions from the Federal Power Commission, the predecessor to the Federal Energy Regulatory Commission. PDFs of these official reports are often available through Hein Online. Select the U.S. Federal Agency Documents, Decisions, and Appeals Library. It's easiest to browse by agency. That way, we can see the various publications of that agency that are included in this library. Many of these decisions on Hein Online from the Department of the Interior are historical, but the decisions of the Interior Board of Land Appeals is a current publication. Formal adjudications can also be published in unofficial publications. Typically, these used to be loose-leaf services like these CCH FERC reports, which contain the decisions of the Federal Energy Regulatory Commission. FERC reports, like other CCH publications, are now available through the Vital Law platform. Agency adjudications are now increasingly available on agency websites. For example, FERC provides access to the dockets of active cases and initial decisions by the administrative law judge who presides over the hearing through its e-library. One useful source of information on federal agency decisions is the Blue Book White Pages Table T1.2, Federal Administrative and Executive Materials. While not exhaustive, it does provide information about the availability of published decisions from a number of administrative agencies. The second type of agency decision-making is the informal adjudication. Informal adjudication is a statutorily required decision-making process that may or may not require a hearing and is neither formal adjudication nor rulemaking. Informal adjudications are governed by special statutory requirements or an agency's own regulations and are generally not reviewable by a court. This is the cover letter of the transmittal of an informal adjudication from the Department of Energy. Informal adjudications are conducted by presiding officers and not by independent administrative law judges. It could be a consent disposition between party and agency, which may or may not be written. It can be done by inspections, conferences, and negotiations. These are often not publicly available. The third type of agency decision is called an advisory opinion. These can be in response to a question from a member of the public on how to interpret a statute or regulation, or an agency can issue a guidance document, which is an agency statement of general applicability and future effect, other than a regulatory action, that sets forth a policy on a statutory, regulatory, or technical issue, or an interpretation of a statutory or regulatory issue. They are not binding on the agency. Advisory opinions are authoritative interpretations of statutes and regulations that indicate agency policy and expectations. Guidance documents are available on many of the major legal research platforms, but agency decisions and guidance are not always front and center. Here are some tips for finding agency decisions on the major research platforms. From the Westlaw homepage, under Content Types, choose Administrative Decisions and Guidance. Both federal and state agencies are included here, although only a few of the federal agencies appear on the first page. We can run a search through all agencies or can select a particular agency or type of decision or guidance to search. Here's an example of the types of decisions and guidance available on Westlaw from the Department of Health and Human Services. Some, but not all agencies on Westlaw can be key cited, so be sure to look to see if there are any citing references available for the decisions on Westlaw. From the Lexis Plus homepage, explore Content Administrative Materials, which includes state as well as federal agency materials. We can arrow by jurisdiction or practice area. This is the source description of the administrative materials Lexis has from the Department of Health and Human Services, which includes opinions and guidance documents from HHS, the FDA, and the Centers for Medicare and Medicaid Services. On Bloomberg Law, click on Select Sources to go to the expandable outline of the available sources. Select or open U.S. Regulatory and Administrative. There you have a choice of U.S. government department, agencies, or state regulatory and administrative. Again, we can search all documents from a particular agency or restrict our search by document type. As in this example of content from the Centers for Medicare and Medicaid Services, we can choose guidance and interpretation, order and decision, or forms. State agencies also post their decisions on the web. Massachusetts has a convenient list of links to recent state agency decisions maintained by the Massachusetts Trial Court Libraries. We can see that Massachusetts makes available current decisions from the Alcoholic Beverages Control Commission and the Appellate Tax Board, as well as Attorney General opinions back to 1832, and that's just the A's. Another source of Massachusetts administrative decisions is from the Social Law Library in Boston. BC Law Library subscribes to their collection of Massachusetts administrative databases. Again, remember to come in through the alphabetical list of databases to be authenticated as a subscribing user. If you need administrative decisions from other states, try looking for a state-specific research guide to determine which databases are likely to contain that state's agency decisions.